Hi folks, it's Andy and welcome to this week's Kendo Rant. I've got loads of questions for you this week, some really good ones. We're going to jump into them right in a moment, but first, don't forget, if you do enjoy these videos, if it's these Kendo Rants, if it's the instructional videos, the analysis videos, or anything else that we put out on Kendo, on the Kendo show, don't forget you can support the channel by shopping at KendoStar.com. KendoStar.com, of course, is my website that sells fantastic, amazing, wonderful Kendo equipment all around the world. We're the best rated Kendo shop online, so get over there and do your shopping for your Kendo gear at KendoStar.com. And also, yeah, if the other thing we've got that you can do to support us is we've got some t-shirts. There's a link below as well if you like Kendo themed t-shirts. It's just a thing, again, like I say, to support us really. You can use those products to support us as well. Okay, first one. I understand the use of the left hand using the 3 fingers. Now, what I'd like to know is, do you do the same with the right hand when we, in other words, when we cut men, do we squeeze with 3 little fingers on the right hand at the same time, or just keep a relaxed right hand? So what you're talking about is when you do tenouchi at the moment of impact, we're always taught to use the bottom 3 fingers of our left hand to squeeze the shinai. Actually, yes, when you do tenouchi, you squeeze with all of your fingers as it happens. But it's when you hold the shinai, you hold particularly tightly with the little finger, a little bit with the ring finger, and also a bit with the middle finger. And the other fingers just fold around the scar or the handle together with them. And you have a similar feeling, but not as tight on the right hand, okay? And when you squeeze for the strike, you squeeze all of your hand and all of your fingers at the same time. This way, bam, this way. Okay, so yes, to some extent it is on the right hand as well, but when you do tenouchi, actually you also squeeze a little bit with your other fingers also. Next one. Hi Andy, I've been wanting to get back into Kendo after taking a break for a little over 10 years. The reason that I had to quit practicing was due to a turf toe and joint capsule injury on my left foot that was never treated properly. Needless to say, I've developed arthritis in the toe and I've a lack of flexibility. It can be painful at times in certain situations. The only way that I've found it to help during practice is to heavily tape it and to wear a tabby sock over it. Because Kendo relies so heavily on being able to push off with your left foot, I'm wondering if this is a viable quest. I've also considered the possibility of switching over to Jordan as a way to share the stress on my feet during practice. Do you have any advice for Kendo practitioners with permanent or limited injuries? How severely would it affect my progression through the lower downgrades? So, yeah, I mean, I think it's absolutely fine for you to explore those options, taping it up, wearing the tabby sock, if, you know, maybe doing Jordan or having your other foot forward, if your sensei is happy with that. In terms of general advice for people that have these sort of injuries, Kendo is for everybody, all right? There's people that don't have any limbs, you know, not any limbs, but like people that have got limbs missing that do Kendo and other sort of severe disabilities. It's not, you know, Kendo's open. It's there for you if you're willing to give it everything. It will not affect your progression through the downgrades. The important thing is that you are able to still work towards the concept of striking with Kikentai no Ichi. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean Fumikomi, because not everybody can do Fumikomi. That means the stamping. But Kikentai no Ichi is unifying the sword, body, and spirit together into a perfect strike. It's how that applies sometimes to you if you are limited in some way. But with the help of your teacher, I'm sure it's perfectly possible. Sometimes it just needs a little bit of thinking outside of the box. For example, we always say that you have the left hand at the bottom of the tsuka and the right hand by the tsuba. Well, I've seen people that are missing or have their problem with their left hand or left arm. So they hold it with their right hand near the bottom of the tsuka and do Jordan with one hand, for example. Okay, so it's not hard and fast rules like that necessarily. Next one. Hi Andy, I liked your video on Borga design. I'm curious, how long is the typical prototype stage for KendoStar Borga? Have you ever sent a design for manufacture and been disappointed with the results? So basically the prototype time is usually about 2 to 3 months. So yeah, the one we did in the video, that was what, probably like about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago. So I'm actually expecting that to arrive probably early next month, for me to go through it and check it out. I've already, sort of spoken to the workshop about it. They're already sort of pretty much finishing up on it. So, yeah. In terms of have I ever sent a design for manufacturer and been disappointed with the results? Yeah, I've had that. Not for a long time, though, because I know what I'm doing, for want of a better turn of phrase. Yeah, but there have been times when something didn't turn out quite how I wanted it to. These days, though, unless it's completely different to how I'd imagine it. But now with the experience that I've got, I've been doing this for a long time. I've done this a lot. I've got a good idea of what something's going to turn out like when it's ready. So usually I only make quite small adjustments, if I make any at all, to the prototypes when they come in, because they often come in pretty much in the way that I had imagined them in the first place. Next one, Kendo humor. Is there such a thing, or are we always serious? Of course there's Kendo humor. Haven't you seen that page, Kendo memes? That's a well good Facebook page. That's a good one, for example. I did that video as well just the other day about reacting to the sort of Kendo comedy in Japan. So yeah, there's Kendo humor, of course there is. Next one, any starting points for those interested in doing Jordan? I'm keen, but I'll not begin training Jordan officially until I'm second or third dan. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea to hold off until you're sort of second or third dan. I usually say third dan is a good benchmark. Not that it's about attached to the grade. It's just to pass third dan, you have to have a good grounding and understanding of Kikentai no Ichi and Yuko Datotsu. So that's valid strikes. Once you have those basics, that's when you can. It's better to start exploring different kamae. In terms of the sort of things, the starting points. Suburi, you need to do suburi probably with a heavier, like bokuto. If you look at like some of the heavier suburi to that we have on KendoStar, some of those, and you need to also do katate suburi or one-handed suburi. So do men strikes with one hand. Okay, make sure you still swing the shinai straight or the bokuto straight, and do the katate suburi. Okay, and you still have to have a good swing speed. It's no good if it's like this speed. Okay, you have to still be able to men do it at a good speed. Okay, a good pace. I think they're the main things actually. Next one, hi Andy. I recently watched a video by a martial arts instructor who talked about the different coaching styles and the most effective ways of coaching. He made the argument that error correction is less effective than giving cues, i.e. that coaching is better when you focus more on giving the students positive advice, pull the left foot forwards quickly after humikomi rather than correcting their errors, such as getting someone to do mensuburi and then correcting their hand position. What are your thoughts on this as someone who's had a fair amount of experience teaching Kendo? It depends on the environment. I think that's more of a I don't think I mean, I wouldn't say it's necessarily the way I teach. But I mean, I do think I give positive advice. I mean, pull the left foot forwards quickly after fumikomi. That's something I've said a lot. But in terms of, not pointing out errors, that's not, I don't know. I think it's important for people to be aware of that as well. Like, I haven't seen any really, really amazing kendoka that were sort of trained by only being told what they were good at, if that makes sense. Now, that might not really be what you mean, but in terms of sort of coaching styles, it is different depending on the people that you're talking to. My personal sort of style of coaching is to mix demonstration with explanation, but I like to try as much as possible to give logical explanation. I try to, especially when I'm teaching adults, all right? Kids is different, but adults, I like to try and give logical explanation that makes sense. So it's not just do this because I say so, or, do this because that's how we do it, or that's tradition. All right. There's generally a reason why we do most of the things in Kendo the way we do it. So I like to try and give that as I'm explaining it, so our students know that we're telling them to do that for a good reason. Next one. Hi Andy, I recently got some Kote from the best Kendo shop on the net. KendoStar, I think it's called. Yeah, it's called KendoStar. Anyway, when trying them out, I've experienced some pain in my thumb in the area shown in the attached picture. The Kote are a snug fit, though I have short thumbs, so there's plenty of space lengthwise. Have I given the wrong sizing, or will they stretch with use? So yeah, probably they're a little bit snug on you. They will definitely stretch with use, definitely. All right, they're designed to do so. It's normal for them to be a little bit sort of tight and at the beginning. They just need a little bit of breaking in, and they'll break in to fit you very, very well. I don't think you need to worry about it too much, especially at the moment. I think you're in the UK, so you know, when you're back at the dojo and you're actually using them in actual practice, that'll break them in much faster. Next one. Hi Andy, when we have tenugui with writing on it, when putting it on, do you take it the way for the sensei to read or for you? So the writing on, when you have a tenugui that has writing on it, whether it's like calligraphy or, you know, writing on it, that writing is intended for you. It's not intended for anyone else or for the people that are looking at it or looking at the back of your head. So you're supposed to put it on. If you pick up the tenugui, and as if the correct way is so that you can read the text as you look at it, and then you put it on your head. All right. So what that generally means is that when it's on, the design's upside down. Yeah. If you look at it from the back. Yeah, that's the correct way to wear a tenugui. So the text is facing you in the way that it will be read. Next one. Hi Andy, thank you for the instructional videos. They've been a great help. Good, thank you. How many days a week should you practice? I wrote on this 8. As many as you can. As many as you can. The more the better. But obviously, you know, don't, if you're hurt or something, or you know, you don't want to overdo it for your body. But in terms of training, you know, if you can train every day, that's the best. Most of us can't, but as much as possible is definitely the answer to that. Hi Andy, what are the exact specifications for shinai that are accepted at tournaments? All of the information I can find is the length and weight for the 39 size men shinai, but I believe there's also a limitation on how thick the door section can be or how thin the tsuka can be for men shinai. Can I have a 25 or 24 mil thick scuff, for example, if the overall weight is okay? Okay, so there's a bit of confusion on the regulations for tournaments. They are in the new rule book, but that hasn't been translated into English yet. They are also in the latest version of the Kendo. This one here, the official guide for Kendo instruction. There is a new page in here, not an updated page actually, that actually talks about the specifications of the shinai, and it includes the new regulations. Now, here's the thing. First off, it's not a men's 39. Adults use 39. That's one of my pet peeves. All right, men and women are both supposed to use a 39, and you can use a shorter one. Both men and women could use a 38 or a 37 as long as it met the weight guidelines. Okay, it's got to be less than 120 for adults. Okay, so men and women are supposed to use a 39, which is 120. Other than that, the weight, of course, is 510 grams or more for men, and 540 for ladies. So basically, what it is it's nothing to do with the tsuka. The tsuka is not regulated in terms of its thickness. You can have a thick or a thin one, whatever you want. What the new regulation is they used to measure the diameter of the sakigawa, and they still do, but now they also measure a new section which is called the chokuto, which is it called chokuto? Chikuto, sorry, which is down. It's about 8 centimeters down from the tip. It's on the actual bamboo itself. All right, so it's so that the tip of the bamboo part of the shinai can't be too thin. All right, and basically for males, the sakigawa has to be more than 26 millimeters. And the chikuto has to be more than 21 millimeters. And for ladies, it's 25 millimeters for the sakigawa and 20 millimeters for the chikuto. They are basically the new regulations. And there's a diagram in there as well about how you measure it and all that. Now, the thing is about these have been introduced because they're trying to get away from these very extreme shinai that have got very fat door and very, 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 very thin tips. They're very much trying to get away with that and get away from that. And also there was a kind of culture of some people modifying the shinai as well afterwards, doing things like putting tsuba in between the staves to make it swell more, and shaving the tip to make it thinner. So it's got a very, very, very lightweight tip. So that's what that's about. So yeah, they're trying to get away from the extreme Jisengata type shinai. So yeah, they've only just come in like last year, I think they came in. And yeah, so that's the main thing to remember. Again, it's not the tsuka. The tsuka diameter you can choose. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. Next one. Hello, I hope you've had a fabulous week. I want some general advice on CrossFit training for Kendo. You're asking the wrong guy. What's your ideal routine? I've been doing running and weights. I'm a little hesitant to burn out too early in the day when I know I have online stability or Keiko later in the day. Also, I don't want to risk injury by overtraining and pulling something in practice later in the day or the next. Any general advice on getting fit for Kendo would be appreciated. Right, so I'm not a fitness trainer. I don't know much about this sort of thing. All I would do is I'd work on general fitness, and I would do it on days that you don't do Kendo. So if you do Kendo 3 times a week, then you could do general fitness on the other 3 days, and you could have a day where you don't do anything. If or you could just do 2 days of fitness and then rest at the weekend or whatever. All right. If you do Kendo just twice a week, you could do fitness on another 2 days or 3 times. I think that's the best way to do it. If you feel like you've overtrained or you feel particularly tired, you need to rest. Okay. Especially in your muscles. I've had injuries related to overtraining in that regard. So that's what I would say with that. Next one. Greetings from Halifax, Canada. I watched your impressions on the face shield that's been suggested as a stopgap to protect against COVID. Your reaction was very much what I expected, and I don't see myself wearing one as much as I miss Kendo. I think it will affect performance in a negative way for many Kendoka. So my question: do you see the future of Kendo for all to involve improvised shields and masks, waiting for a vaccine, or a redesign of the men? As a total aside, playing Nito in Japan last summer was great. You were right, I overwould. So yeah, you asked about last year. You asked about playing Nito in Japan. I told you not to worry about it too much, I think. So I did a video about the eye shields that is part of some of the guidelines and how I thought they were kind of not really that good. And I don't see myself using one. So in terms of how I see us kind of going on, sort of in the long term, I mean, I think for the most part, following the rest of the guidelines is okay for the kind of, at least in the short terms, where we're using the main thing is like obviously checking our temperatures, not going to practice if you're sick, stuff like that, as much as possible. And I know this particular virus is there's asymptomatic cases in a lot of people, but any sort of symptomatic cases obviously must be removed, and as much as possible try to create an environment that's virus free. I know that's not necessarily possible, with the cloth masks and the mouth guards we want. I don't think the eye ones or the full face ones, I don't think they're necessarily the right way to go. Obviously having a vaccine would be great. And in terms of a redesign of the men, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, all right? I'm going to do a different video about that at some point, about redesigning the men, because I've had about 5 or 6 recently, people asking me about why don't we just redesign the men, and unless, it's not going to happen. It costs too much, all right? And I'm talking millions, right? So it's not going to happen. Probably not millions, but hundreds of thousands. So anyway, let's move on. Hi Andy, I noticed several types of hemo. Could you please talk a bit about them with regards to the material advantages of each? Thanks. So we offer 3 main types of himo on KendoStar. There's the basic ones, which are just standard cotton woven himo that are dyed dark navy blue. They're perfectly good for everyday practice or keiko. There's, you know, they're sort of no frills really, but they're fine. We have the deluxe ones, which are also woven himo from cotton, but these are dyed with genuine aizome. Okay, so they look a bit nicer, they fade a bit nicer, but they do turn your hands blue. Then we also have the genuine silk ones, all right? They're a lot more expensive. I think we only offer them on some of the high-end Borg sets. And they're a real luxury, all right? I don't recommend them for everyday practice. They're not super durable. They look very shiny. They look very beautiful. But they don't tie up quite as well, all right? Because it's silk. It's a bit slippery, okay? There are some other types of the aizome ones. We only stock a specific grade of the aizome deluxe ones. We usually stock the middle grade. There's 3 grades usually. There's the lowest grade, there's the middle grade, and the highest grade. We tend not to stock the highest grade, though we can get it if you want it, because it's somewhat thicker. The himo are thicker, which of course does make them a bit durable. That's the only difference, is like the thickness of them. They're a bit more durable, but they come untied more, all right, because it's a thicker rope. It's harder to tie them up in a knot that stays securely tied. The thinner ones are just that little bit easier to tie up that nice and securely. So I find that most people prefer the middle grade rather than the top grade. Next one. Hi Andy, can you talk about ways to preserve your body throughout the years as you do kendo? Do you do anything special to keep your shoulders, wrists and ankles in good shape? What should we pay attention to in our form to avoid damaging ourselves? All right, so I don't have much problems with my ankles, and I don't know of many people like in kendo that get ankle problems. Nor shoulder problems, actually. Shoulders isn't something that I've had an issue with, and I don't know many people that have got kendo-related shoulder issues. But the main things I find from kendo, in my experience, and in my own experience, and those of people who I know, are indeed wrists a little bit and elbows. Okay, I get a bit of tennis elbow. There's like training aids. Shin Sensei did a video about it actually, that you can get like a rubber TheraBand or something they're called. They're like a rubber band that you twist. They help a lot. That sort of thing I think helps a lot. Another wise, I think it's just keeping in shape. Keeping in shape. Don't eat too much junk. Probably it's a good idea to start, if you know, once you start getting a little bit older, if you don't eat much stuff like fish in your diet, which I don't actually, but maybe like taking some sort of joint supplement, like a cod liver oil or omega-3 or something like that. I don't know. I'm not an expert on this. This is just stuff I've heard. All right. I might be wrong. If you think I'm wrong, write in the comments down below. Okay. Other than that, when you hurt something, stop and rest. Definitely do that. Don't train on something that hurts. It doesn't make it better. Next one. Does your wrist simply get used to Kote strikes, or does it always tend to kind of hurt? LOL, thanks. Okay, so this is from the person that asked a couple of weeks ago about training without a teacher, and I said, if you are still training together in a year's time, I'll come out there and teach you. I know who this is. And I said to you in that video, don't hit each other too hard. All right, that's one of the things I specifically said. I was careful to say, don't hit each other too hard. All right, so first off, it shouldn't be painful to hit kote with each other. You do get used to it a bit. But you need to train in accuracy. So if it's painful and you're left with bruising, all right, you definitely shouldn't be left with bruising after kote strikes. I don't go around. My wrist looks like this year round. All right, I haven't done kendo in a few months now because of the whole lockdown thing, but my wrist always looks like this. It doesn't look bruised ever. Okay, so if someone hits you and it's bruising you, you need to tell them that's probably a bit too hard. Okay. Next one. Hope you and yours are well. Are there any signs of when Preston Kenshinkai Dojo will resume? I'm having withdrawal symptoms. So this is from one of the members of my dojo. Preston Kenshinkai Dojo is my dojo that I run in the northwest of England. And yeah, we don't know exactly when we're going to resume. We're hoping for early August. depending on how everything comes with us coming out of the whole lockdown idea. All right, but I'm having withdrawals as well, mate. All right, we'll get through it. We'll get back in the dojo and we'll enjoy practicing together again soon, I'm sure. Okay, next one. As a seller of Budogu, do you feel like the population of Kendoko is shrinking in Europe? I've talked with many people and several say that their dojos are much smaller than what they used to be. Do you feel the same or are we just unlucky? Also, as an instructor, how do you deal with the dwindling numbers of practitioners, if that applies to you? So no, I don't think that it's dwindling in Europe. I think it's increasing. The evidence seems to suggest it's increasing both in Europe and in other places outside of Japan. Unfortunately, it's on the decline in Japan, but in Europe and in other countries, Kendo is actually on a I wouldn't say a steep incline, but it is on an incline. I think the difficult thing is lots of people do struggle to keep members in their dojo or to attract new members because they I think there's a lot of clubs that aren't modernizing enough in terms of their marketing, and they don't approach the acquisition of new members and the retention of new members as a marketing activity. All right, a Ken dojo has costs to cover. It needs to acquire members and it needs to retain members in order to keep an income stream flowing so that the dojo can operate. All right, that means it requires marketing, and you have to do that. Like these days, I mean, obviously like posters and stuff like that, that's okay, you know, but you have to proactively market your dojo because nobody knows what Kendo is. There's a video game come out today, Ghost of Tsushima. I've actually got a video coming out. That is a massive marketing opportunities for dojos around the world, okay? Because there's going to be millions of people who are, you know, involved in this sort of popular culture event of the launch of this video game that's going to be very popular, that can be directly linked to the concept of Kendo as an activity. All right, you can actively say to, hey, did you like that game? Guess what? Why don't you have a go at it yourself? Why don't you try and be a samurai and come and have a go at Kendo? It's actually descended from the same techniques that are in that video game. I know that's an extrapolation of the exact truth, but it's not totally incorrect either. And it needs that spark of something to get someone to come along. Because it's not like in Japan where we have the advantage where everyone already knows what Kendo is. People here don't, all right? So I think it's just a case of keeping up to date with that marketing, making sure that you're up to date on your social media, having a Facebook page, not a Facebook group. Have a Facebook group as well, but you need a Facebook page, all right? That's just this one thing. Looking at Facebook ads, you know, to get people in. I think it's definitely something that's worth doing. Next one, and this is the last one, okay? You've mentioned it before, that learning Japanese would be great to enhance one's understanding and progression in Kendo. I'm very tempted to do so, but I keep wondering if this would be enough. You, Andy, for instance, got to live and train in Japan for a long time, as well as being married to a Japanese person. You've been fully immersed in the Japanese culture that I think would give you a greater understanding of Kendo and Japan. So would just learning the language be sufficient to get to this greater understanding of Kendo? Right, first off, I don't think I have some greater understanding of Kendo that other people don't. I'm not some like, all I'm doing on these videos, look, I know I put out instructional videos, I know I talk about things on these rants and I answer questions, right? All I'm doing is I'm just feeding back from my experience, right? I'm not saying I've got some higher understanding of Kendo. I could be really wrong about a lot of this stuff, all right? I could be, right? So I'm not saying that. Look, let's talk about my case, all right? My specific case is extremely unique, all right? And I've walked a very unique path to get to where I am, and it's not one that I recommend. It's worked out for me, but I've been extremely, like, unbelievably lucky, all right? I was able to spend time in Japan, but, you know, like, you know, when you say I got to live and train in Japan, I specifically gave up everything I had in the UK and moved to Japan without a job, with nothing, specifically in the pursuit of improving at Kendo. That was the goal of doing that. Yeah, it wasn't like I wasn't shipwrecked there, and I didn't go there like as part of some, you know, I don't know, some sort of I didn't win a free trip or something, you know, like I threw everything away and got on a plane. Don't do that. Don't do that. It was a bad decision. It turned out to be a good decision, but in the first place it wasn't. Yeah. I was already married to my wife at that point, all right? We met here in the UK. And it put a massive strain on our relationship and our marriage because of the way I did do that, where I threw everything away. And she was very, very rightly very worried about the way I acted. And in terms of how that sort of, and I guess the other thing is that then when I got there, luckily for me, my sensei in the UK, who was a Japanese guy, he had a connection with a burger shop, that got me an interview. Yeah, it got me an interview. And like on the day one, they were like, we don't want foreigners here. We don't trust you guys. Yeah, that's literally what they said to me on the first day I walked in the door. They said, we don't trust foreigners. We don't want any of them here. But unfortunately, that sensei, we owe him a favor. So we're going to have to give you a trial. Like, that's how it started. So, you know, it's not something that you can't try and copy that sort of thing. Don't. It's not responsible. I didn't act responsibly, and I don't want anyone to do that. Now, in terms of how that's affected my understanding or my perception of my existence or the existence of things I experienced, basically, look, one of the things is yes, I worked exclusively at Japanese companies, so I was immersed in the Japanese experience. Almost from the beginning, despite hardly speaking Japanese when I moved there. My wife is Japanese, but, you know, I didn't marry her because she's Japanese. Of course not. That's ridiculous. But, you know, I don't see her. I don't even see her as Japanese. She's my wife. But, you know, it's like, it's not that she sat down and gave me Japanese lessons every day. However, it is true that exposed me to another element of Japanese culture, another aspect of Japanese language that probably I would never have experienced otherwise. The fact that she's also involved in Kendo, she's accomplished at Kendo, successful Kendo person in her own right, also gave me the benefit of that experience to my Kendo as well. So look, I'm starting to ramble here because I don't know what direction to take this in, frankly. But I guess the issue I'm having to answer this question is where you've said, would just learning the language be sufficient to get to this greater understanding of Kendo? I don't think I've got a greater understanding of Kendo. And I don't think that, if you're asking me, will my experience or my will my study of Kendo be improved by learning Japanese? The answer is absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. You will definitely benefit. Your study of Kendo will definitely benefit. I'd say more than tenfold by learning Japanese. It's a massive advantage to you. If you're then saying to me, will I benefit even more by moving and living in Japan? Maybe. Lots of people don't. All right. You can't just live there. You have to get it when you live there, and it's hard to do that. Not, you have to figure out how the society there works, and a lot of people don't. And I'm not sure I did, but I did to at least to a point where I figured out how it fit in with Kendo. Now, if you're saying to me, well, if I don't do that, is it worth bothering at all? Well, that's ridiculous. You know, I don't recommend you give up everything and move to Japan like I did. I definitely don't recommend you do that. But I definitely recommend that for the enrichment of your own Kendo experience, that you learn Japanese. It'll be great. It's great to speak another language. It's fantastic. It opens up your horizons in so many ways. It changes the way you think. It changes the way you perceive, and of course, it affects positively the way that you study and have access to Kendo. Yeah. So don't worry that you can't have the exact same, or you're not going to have the exact same experience I did. I'm not saying have some superior understanding of Kendo. You will definitely benefit from learning Japanese. Okay, that's enough. That was a long rant on that specific question as well. All right, that's it. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you had a great time. I certainly did. There were some fantastic questions there. Don't forget to shop at KendoStar to support the channel. Like I told you last week, did you know that if you press, you can't subscribe. There's a subscribe button down there. I mean, you can go and press it. Maybe it's up to you. It doesn't make a difference. What you need to do is you need to go down. There's a little bell. There's a little bell icon. That's the Improve at Kendo bell. You have to press that and turn on notifications, and then overnight you wake up the next day and you're instantly better at Kendo. Trust me. See you next time. Bye bye.